Hello! Welcome to Travel Culture, where you get different experiences with us in Africa and the global village. We hope it's been a wonderful journey with us with different experiences, and if you are new, we would like you to keep in touch by clicking that subscribe button. It means the world to us. Thank you! And for our existing subscribers, we always appreciate you forever and thank you for always coming back to comment, like and share and supporting. Blessings all. Well, guess what we have in store for you today? As you may relate now, I travel and live several places, especially in rural villages, located in different regions of the country. Today, we are touring a unique, fast-developing village. If you follow through, you will appreciate an empathy to see how nature changes in development and what can we do. What can we preserve before waking up suddenly and all nature gone in slow process? With questions of balance, how to get excited and appreciate the new developments. It's a balance of preserving nature and welcoming development. What will be your weighing scale at the end? Alright, here we started off by passing the first storied building in this village that we passing by. This purple and white building was the first storied building in this village and a home to the only supermarket that we passed. It's still developing to allow inside full visible exhibition for now. Well, this building inspired other upcoming storied buildings like the one seen across. With that, look close across the horizon and see the two contrasting aspects of green and then development buildings. To get a more insightful thought of this village walk and talk about development and balance of green nature, why not first leave these gates and kickstart off seeing our town center? So as we slope, this is the village town center and you will see buildings aligned on both sides of the road. The road is still natural. The animals and birds at times move freely through. Ahead is a group meeting where the natives usually gather for meetings, especially regarding finance like savings. Before we proceed, let me show you first out community radio, the stand you see with several announcements equipments on the side. This was captured on a morning sunrise walk, and don't be surprised to see the place ahead empty. For any announcements, weddings, burials, sales, everything is announced. And it's all free announcements. It's called the community radio, and the announcements will be blown through those speakers, blown by the wind far and clearly heard. Across another village, we may find similar speakers as sound may phase out. Well, let's proceed. The natives operate small businesses on the side of the road, mainly shops, and there is increasing construction sales given there is more housing construction going more than ever. For example, look at this timber sales here and metal for house construction, including small side kiosks, as we shall see ahead. You will notice the village center is still in early development with a few buildings, but mostly comprised of small tinned and timber kiosks aligning the roadside. These are cheaper for the locals to rent and make a living, and besides, they're closer to the walking customers. But the sun can be hot. Here we are in the very center stage of the village town. Going ahead is the main road used with a petrol station far in front. Public minibuses or matatu or 14-seater taxis park here from the capital center on arrival for passengers to get off. We have the quickest transporters, that's Bodabada. However, we shall take this opposite side of the road. It's also now becoming a more used road, but ahead you will understand why it's less used, though it's shorter route. As I was saying, Bodabada are fastest means of transportation across the country, and here in the village, they are available fully. These buildings here are some of the main shops, but more expensive to rent than the smaller kiosks left behind. Also, goods are safer with good locks. And what you saw is a mobile money stand where people deposit and withdraw money from their phones. We have no banks, but mobile phone banks. Interesting. Over there, they are making bricks that will be used to build such structures. They are made from muddy soil before being baked, ready for construction use, as we shall explore in near future. Well, most of where we walk will be to your keen interest. Village walk and exploration of our village. I will be pointing out some things here and there, but the whole experience is for you to have a green African village walk and how it evolves, a whole insight. Meanwhile, hoping you are taking in all the beautiful green on the hilly horizon. The plants, weather, it was a beautiful rainy but muddy day. That will be a metal fabrication workshop for metallic doors, windows done by the roadside. That's a boda passing by. It doesn't carry just passengers, but goods too, even water from the well. Others are private usage. We have very few public means of transportation where the matatu is very limited in the village. Transportation is challenging in every African rural village. First, notice every house is surrounded by a garden, typical for every African home to have a garden around. And here you can mostly see plantain, also locally called matuk, the main staple food of this country. Every home must have this crop that's mostly in central and western regions opposite to northern. Back to transportation. For example, here, the 314-seater public taxi leave between 4:45 am and 5:30 am. Only one returns from town during day at noon and will leave in minutes later after passengers back out. In the evening, one will be strategic to time the returning taxis that work in far-off places. That means in wait of the drivers returning home. That means we have a lot of reluctance on the motorcycles that can be a bit more expensive, tripling or doubling the price. So we at times have to foot to the main highway to town that would take roughly 30 or 40 minutes to arrive near a major town. One of the beauties of African villages is fruit trees, especially those that grow by the roadside. Unlike food crops, the fruits trees are free everyone to pluck and eat fresh. Can you guess what fruit we are approaching here? Its leaves are also very medicinal for cooking, to drink to reduce weight, coughing, body cleansing, showering, and so much more. The branches were or are used in schools for caning, as the stick of a guava tree is hard enough to never break easily like others. It can also give a good pain to the butt. So the rainy season had started and farmers had already prepared the land on most of the empty places you see. That would be mostly beans and cassava. The plantain crops bring new fruits. They grow throughout the year unless attacked by a disease, so they will be very common like trees as we walk. Now, here are some gullies by the roadside, deep ditches that one has to be careful while walking, and also fast-moving vehicles or motorcycles. The area being hilly and rainy, deep ditches are dangerous for even children. Now, if one had a long night of drinking, all the more reason careful not break a leg. The road is a bit small combined with the hilly side and sloping side of it, plus the deep ditches, which prevents it from being used as the main road for most vehicles, especially for public means. But being a shorter road to the major town center, it will still have its users, like the private cars. That would include pedestrians like us finding a shorter route, or having an evening hike to the green nature hills in search of a beautiful sunset over the horizon, or a moonlight shining the night walkways. Either way, nature will bounce back its beauty of green fresh air. Those with cars and money will have to build huge gutter pipes to enable their movements, such as the junction we just passed. Else we'll leave nature to take care of the road. If it gets so bad, sometimes the village people will come together to fix the road. For example, cover up big holes with soil sacks. As we explore the village, we are first sloping to the well, which is the main source of water for this whole village. People, especially children, are sent as far as almost a kilometer to come fetch water from this well. We all fetch water from this well. Very few houses having piped water running through their houses established from the national pipes. Else, those who can afford buying huge tanks may use them for water harvesting, especially at such a time like this during the rainy season. This can save them the constant journey to the well. The natural sources of water are in the valley, surrounded by swamps that water the crops mostly and keep them growing throughout the year. These include yams, potatoes, vegetables, alongside a lot of grasslands that the animals like cattle and goats get to feed. Notice how the nature is more beautiful green. So here, you can see how water is fetched at our well. 3 metallic pipes of underground aquifer water that flows day and night year to year. Being the rainy season, the pressure is higher, but during dry season, the pressure may reduce. The pipes quickly allows everyone fetch the water fast without delay. There is no crowd today as it rained, so people harvested water at home to save them a well journey. But perhaps by evening time, when return, you may have glimpses of how crowded it can get, and also how the well can be an important place of creating friendships with interactions. There is an African myth to fetch water in the morning and evening. but the well should be avoided at certain hours like noon, 2 o'clock p.m., and 3 o'clock p.m. probably. It's a time for the ghosts to use the well. If you go at those times, you may interact with a very beautiful human only to disappear, never seen again. The myths were very long ago, today in certain villages still existent, but beautiful women with very long hair have been seen abnormally at the well. Run, run if something is amiss, ha 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 ha. Alright, here, we approach the lower end of the well-flowing water. This will be used by youths to wash vehicles. Motorcycles, something they charge for to make living income. Did I mention be careful when you step in that water, as some insects or worms can stick to your skin and suck the blood outer ya. The flowing water will be recycled back in the swamp for purification, and well water can be drunk without necessarily cooking, though these days, one has to be more careful. There are organizations that fund such well construction. Unfortunately, our well-ground stone funded is now covered in grass to be seen. We usually have village functions in this green space that you see here, such as school speech days, as you see in future. Subscribe for notifications, please. Here, we approach a very steep hill. Another downside of using this road by moving vehicles, especially on rainy days. As mentioned earlier, this road is rarely used for a number of reasons, such as the entrance. It's tiny, then this sloppy hill on the side are mud bricks being made for house construction. Do you notice the cattle up the hill? They just fed back down at the lower end of the well drinking water. It doesn't matter how soapy the water is. Soapy water is an advantage to cows. From another angle, observe how the hill is steeply that the motorcycle will have to use a good gear up the climb. Alright, finally arriving at Hill Steepy Top. That was a climb indeed. Well, let's quickly pass this kiosk selling foodstuffs like silver fish, veggies alongside the road. I do most shopping here, especially avocado. It's a famous kiosk here, well stocked, and on return, we shall see how it changed in 2 days from the day I was there previously. To understand how things can quickly change in village, in buildings, kiosks can just spring up overnight. At the first hill summit is an intersection of road junctions that all open up at one of the most green, beautiful tea garden in the world. Look, isn't that endlessly green awesome? Please bear with us for the next few minutes in this camera position as we move through the tea garden. This hill garden is over a century old that has been home to this tea plants. It was formerly a forest that was turned into a garden that has reserved the green environment over the years. The tea garden has employed thousands of workers throughout the years, coming from different regions of this country, even across the borders. One would say the big workforce is mainly women. Most have testified educating their children through to the university completion. And some have been able to save to buy land and later construct their own houses. Yes, the pay in the tea garden isn't the best, one would say, given the high turnover of workers, but also high workers being employed daily, especially those who have nowhere to start have at least beginning. In spite everything, many people have benefited and still benefit from working in this tea garden. And if you don't have a job, why not come over at the tea garden? There is a lot of work for everyone. Most of the work starts at 5 o'clock m and may end by 6 o'clock p.m. depending. The work may involve plucking young tea leaves into baskets, and there are expected kilograms. Perhaps if one meets their target, they may decide when to finish. There is a whole lot that I need to get an employee expert. For now, let's enjoy this diversity of the tea garden. Who knows how long it's here? This road leads all the way to Main Town Center Highway Road, eventually to the capital city. And ahead is manure that may be placed in the garden to keep the garden fertile. The trees are usually pruned and allowed to grow, hence the workers will harvest other grown sections of young leaves on rotation basis. Just look where we came from, all the way from the town center, where we first started walking through, now at a different horizon. The sunset would exactly set over here down this road over the village center buildings below. Now, this critically brings us to one of the important aspects of this walk. Please bear with us this camera angle until in the next few minutes. We are now at a critical point of this walk. Look closer at this green hill and its opposite forestry green area far off. You understand the whole area was a forested garden with nature. You can imagine what a jungle it was back then. Now, in contrast, you look closer at the opposite hill rising with buildings and concrete less nature. Yes, for now, there is still a good mixture of development and nature. And for now, still looks a little wonderful, but later as we get closer, how more worrying it becomes. We are sloping at another side of the garden on the opposite hill, where development started, a place regarded highly for the new rich, mostly composed of storied houses and red roofings. As the hill was quickly sold over in real estate, attention now shifted to our village and its town that we've walked. Rotating around slowly, you can see how the former green hills are quickly engulfed in real estate buildings, what many term as development. When it comes to nature and its disappearance from one hill to another at that point, I am sure one is pretty cracking their heads what development means, especially as an environmentalist or a lover of nature. For now, we can appreciate there is still good mixture of buildings and green, but that's as probably some of the plots that owners are yet to construct on, and if all done and clear, we may just see only buildings in a few years from this standing point. Well, that's why we say enjoy it now before it's gone. Another essence of this walk. Enjoy this beauty as we have it. There are several road tracks between the tea garden, but we'll take the public path to connect to the highway so we can have a closer look. Not every part of the tea hill is planted like this space, or probably they have left it to propagate to plant new tea. It's also said until recently there were flowers commercially grown here in greenhouses, which only recently closed, never saw it being new in area, but it explains this bush space. Well, let's take this path that leads us to the rural main road. I wanted us to have a closer look at the horizon hills and see how the former forestry hills are quickly disappearing, going all the way anti-clockwise towards our village hill, and the end of this documentary gives you the saddest full insight. During the Market Mutton Tail documentary, we walked the Kampala Northern Bypass, which we discussed how it connects different suburbs around the city capital, but most importantly connects to Entebbe Express Highway, the most expensive road in the world, built by the Chinese bank loan and government. Ladies and gentlemen, the concrete road structure you see ahead in front, now almost in space, is the Entebbe Express Highway, and we shall be seeing bits of it as we move. To the right, it goes all the way to Entebbe town, to then reach Entebbe International Airport, the country's only international airport. To the left, the road leads all the way to the different capital city suburbs, like Gayaza, and also connecting to upcountry, like Northern Region. Now, the cars and pedestrians from our village pass below that gap before connecting to the normal Entebbe road by Meram. They will then connect here to this main road leading to the village center where we came from. And yes, we passed by one of the hawkers who will walk miles either from the main center to sell stuff in the village, or maybe leaving the village walking through selling via their mobile walking shop. It's a quite slow walk, warm and calm on a rainy day. Not windy or cold, but just the right weather. The surrounding nature and green adds a whole new freshness of breathing air. Well, the sky may not be as bright blue and white as usually on a sunny day, but this is perfect for this Meram road walk. The water in the potholes may be what to watch out for, especially for fast-moving vehicles that may spill it over. But it will also keep the dust down, because believe me, you don't want to walk here on a good hot day, as the dust will be all the way up in air and your lungs will be blaming you next day. I hope you enjoy the beautiful trees aligning the road. It should be young pine trees, and I bet at this stage they would make nice Christmas decorations, ha 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 ha. But if you look closely through, we get glimpses of the housing estate across the express highway to see how quickly those hills changed. One would add it was also from the construction of this express highway that opened up a lot of this area for real estate building from formerly a more swampy and forested hilly rural area all across. And soon everything green may turn into concrete, so let's enjoy before all is gone. Walking this end of the road, I thought we would have a full overview of the area, how it's changing from one end to another, but it was too late to realize we needed to be on higher ground, like amidst the tea garden. Well, we can still see glimpses through of some of the housing through the pines. Well, I must commend much of it is full of fancy housing, and noticeable is like every structure is almost storied. But usually that's how most times rich neighbors here associate with almost the same structures. And there is this belief among the rich housing about roofing materials. They believe all roofing materials should be of similar type and coloring. So if your neighbor has red sheets or brick roofings, you are expected to have the same. Try not go below standard with the old iron white sheet types regarded now for low-class buildings or poor. It may not be a direct rule, but pressure will push you or else sail and pack your bags to so we where else. This is all grapevine stories we have heard among the rich. Don't take full word for it, please, just local conversations with you on our walk. But must say it's interesting to hear some stories. Ahead is the Pepsi vehicle. If you were keen, we bypassed it in the village town center. They sell the drinks wholesale at various shops and sometimes may have a depot station. It could even be a personal sales business contractor. Different business partnerships may exist between individuals and companies. You will notice more car movement here, as is the main road. It's flatter, less ditches opposite to the shortcut road we took earlier. And the top of that road, it also had a lot of steepy stones issues which have been reduced over time since COVID-19 times, but for now, this will still be the main road. Careful as a pedestrian to let vehicles pass, else may get washed in the muddy water. Look at the developing horizon. Do you see that there risen communication masts that will improve the communication network and internet in the area? The telecom companies see lots of business opportunities there. All right, now, crossing a village road, one has to have good footing to measure the stones in between the water and the dry area for proper footing. Don't you think the ones in the middle of this puddle will be the better option, as the sides is full of slippery grass to risk the jump? Oak. 1 to step jump. Careful, as this area is more slipper with deeper water ditches and vehicles recently passing, making it a little of a daunting task. But we made it, yee! We saw the stone quarry from the town center earlier, and the blue trucks that you carry those stones from the quarry to other construction site off in another major town. Construction depends a lot on the stones, and most stone quarries can be far, which hikes the pricing per vehicle loading. And that means business being conducted in the village with resources taken out. So, stop signposts you see in the middle of the road is for the village council to collect taxes on such businesses like the quarry, drinks brought, other shop business items brought or got from the village. The collected money may help on road maintainability, but most is given back to government. Well, that is all in hope the money is well collected and put to good use for the village instead of embezzlement. But who knows? Let's continue our village walk, and perhaps in a few years to come, we will see the changes the collected taxes has brought to the village. Well, as we take the turn on this road, we are mainly passing through the neighborhood of people's residences. We shall stick to the public road and leave the people with their privacy as much as possible respectfully for you understanding. Of course, we shall enjoy some of the varying architecture. Few houses in our village like the one we passed will have a concrete fence and gate. Oops, looks like the occupants still forgot about leaving their dog outside the fence. That's the disadvantage of fences. Poor doggy will wait for a while. Or perhaps could be a wandering dog. We have many as such. It's a common beautiful sight to see children running and playing beside in the road. Some waiting to see cars and wave. The tires back there are recycled as fences to trap water, but also for children to play and also people sitting. Most means are bicycles, bikes by men, especially farmers and business. People will have small shops selling perishable products and also clothes like the ones we passed in front of their homes. This will be off the center. As we walk, you can see clothes are hung on wires tied between trees. And if there is grass, some clothes maybe hang on grass to dry quickly. Notice the open housing that the neighbors can easily interact and even beach off to their houses. Communication is easier than being in gate. When will you greet or see your neighbors? Ha ha ha. It's typical in the village have open housing. Those mostly fencing are shifting from town to live here. Well, hope they finally integrate. Everyone is welcome. There is another hidden fence nice house beyond the trees. Seen it? Ahead here are some eucalyptus trees that someone planted either for timber business or to secure their piece of land. Land grabbing is so real to keep watch of one's land. Ahead is the vehicle we call taxi. It's a 14-seater public vehicle that we mostly use to move metered places, from the village to the capital center. It's usually colored white and blue, so that one is probably used for business to carry goods to the shops for selling, not for public use. However, if one wants a lift, waving will help as the village is still small with less crime. Most people will willingly give people a lift, especially private car owners. I have not seen a vehicle use this route except the trucks that work in the tea garden to deliver water, breakfast and lunch to the tea workers. May they will connect somewhere after all their many routes in this vastly tea garden hill. Alrighty, do you see the gardens around the housing structures? It's essentially every African home to have a garden around the house. We have good tropical climate, why not take advantage to plant some veggies, especially with the rising prices. Some house structures like that will be for business. Looks like they're into party and shopping stuff, and residing behind. Looks like this should a plot going under construction, as you can see the bricks put on site. In the meantime, it was used as a garden. But first look through the green to the other end of the hill and see how structures are rising quickly. We will see some trees in a decade later on that hill. Such small paths like these branch off, leading to people's homes. Those living next to the road must usually conduct some form of business, like a kiosk, while those far engage more into farming, including animal rearing. People will know and come to buy from there. This should be another plot going under construction. They will be laying the huge stones probably picked from the stone quarry to establish the foundation and block off water flow. There is sand that's picked from many of the village surrounding swamps. However, some building sand has to be got from the lake for more strengthening. The person had either started off from the below structure scene and may be collecting more resources to complete. Same here, this person failed to complete, and this structure might be like over 4 years old in waiting completion. It's not easy. I've experience in housing and construction, and I can say salute anyone who completes even a single room structure. It ain't easy. Our village has seen a rise of schools, but mostly primary schools, and this path here will lead to one of the schools as seen from the road signpost. If one cannot afford a signpost, they can put their adverts high up on the tree. Well, very soon they may have to climb and prune those leaves that have overgrown covering up adverts. I just love African innovations. The building on the right is under completion, from the piles of sand, stones, soil, etc. that very soon may be a home to one of the village shops and acting as a residence behind. This plant, you will see it a lot. It traditionally separates land boundaries in Africa. Where you see this plant, it means land boundary. The moment land is demarcated in villages, the plant is planted immediately and it grows fast. Our forefathers have used it and we still adopt it. There were also specific trees used to mark land boundaries. The background sounds is adverts of a mobile herbal clinic. The vehicles moves around the village stopping near people to buy herbal medications for various diseases like anemia, ulcers, toothache, malaria, etc. Most African ailments depend on herbals other than contemporary medicines. Well, people still go to hospital. This is really a huge house almost to completion remaining for doors and windows to be shut. Big up to this person, it must have taken a lot of work indeed. As we move, you may notice people seated in their homes, kids play, and mostly may be wondering why the road is empty. It has rained and now most people will be just preparing to get on the road after the rain stops. And once it starts, it keeps drizzling, but it's perfect timing for camera-shy road walks. The incomplete structure ahead will be shops. That's how the buildings by the roadside are designed with different entry point with poles of support. So as we get closer to the smaller town center of this village side, we get to see more people and activity by the road. As far from the center, people are off the road inside residential, but getting near the town center, more people are actively out on the road selling their products from these shops. What we are passing now is one of the most interesting local factories I have ever visited. It's magical. I went over to request a documentary of their work and would be given an official invite in near future when they have a new production line of goods to make. Super talent over there not to miss. I am really looking forward to our documentary visit there in near future. It's a mixture of neighborhoods and shops by the roadside. Over there, people are cooking from the smoke rising in the air. The main source of energy is firewood, as we shall see ahead, which also adds another critical aspect to this walk and the development engulfing us. Remember the ancestral boundary plants? It's very interesting. The next building we are passing is a medical facility or clinic being constructed. And the herbal car knows exactly where to park and sell medical herbal goods, too. Hahaha. That's the interesting aspects that make business a world of diversity, adventure, and strategic money making. But it's important to point out that in traditional Africa, we have survived on herbals, and they have eliminated many diseases. Contemporary medicine is only recent. Being a tropical country, every leaf we pass is important to act as deodorant when bathed, to eliminate a cold when drunk, and so much more. Notice how this hill nature environment is changing fast. So as I was saying, even as an individual like me, when you learn of specific leaves, you can learn to use them as ailments. We recently went to get rabbit food, and we'll be showing you how the same leaves as humans can help us with our stomach. Whatever happened to this home here, but looks like the person has ventured into brick making business. Their bricks will be sold for construction of most of the structures you see rising across the hill, and the ones on this road. The soil is mixed in water, and that stand will make the triangular brick shape. There's so many road junctions through the tea garden. This large space here can be a turnaround for cars or garden tracks. Else one can walk the hike all the way uphill to enjoy the green nature and its surrounding horizons and sunset. But let's continue our walk closer to the community living. I saw this big ditch of brown water through these cassava leaves from afar. Let's go have a closer look at it. Upon return, the two concretes seen earlier like septic tanks were actually two graves of an adult and a young. The tombstone are laid low on top instead of standing. God bless their souls. Alright, from this closer look now, you can clearly see how the nature is swept away into real estate development. This is how it all actually begins. The land is cleared, and it's all getting closer and closer to the swamps. Nothing spared. Every piece of land will be occupied soon. Let's have a zoom in. Did you enjoy the butterflies and sounds of nature? The birds? So looking closely, this was one block piece of land and now divided into plots. Most people have already constructed in their plots, while others will soon or may be selling. This could be water pond where people may get water. The water would mainly be used to make bricks and construction. I'm not sure if there is fish there, but such digging looks also privately owned. Being the village, people can still openly use the resource. Enjoy the nature here. The green bush pointed here are purple berries, often eaten, but now not fruited. Long ago, due to its thickness, it was planted as a fence around schools. The beauty of it, once it fruited its green seeds that turned purple, as school children we could enjoy it. Even today, only be careful eating near the roadside due to people urinating by roadside. Eat those more inside the thicket. Alright, let's go back to the road. You have had the glimpses of behind these houses too, and as you saw, a garden doesn't miss. Though I wonder why that maize garden dried so quickly. The rain season just began, or they planted it early than expected. We live in tropical sub-Saharan Africa, which comes with the advantage of the sun. Solar power is increasingly being used. As you can see, some houses will have solar panels on top of their roofings to trap the sunlight energy for night lighting. It's been tradition when constructing, one should leave 3 feet between their neighboring plots. Some obey the rules, others not so much. But when rules obeyed, how wonderful to slope down this alley. Careful not to slip. It's been a long neighborhood walk. Enjoy this view of the tea hill garden. Its workers are, if you look closely, are busy plucking the tea that could easily perhaps end up in your cup tomorrow. Or you would rather we go exploring the coffee gardens next? As you breathed in that fresh nature, now take a closer look on the opposite end. It would be the same, even more fresh breath of air, but it's quickly changing with structures. How would you advise this quickly changing village and its hills embrace balance of nature and development? Hold on to end. Remember these construction materials as explained earlier. It could be for that structure going all the way down below to the valley. And here is a flat being constructed, while the open land space I heard might be a factory coming up. Otherwise, for now, thinking how land is small for a factory, I would think another plot ready now for construction development. See from one end of the hill to another how it's changing. From afar where we came from to where we are going. You must be upping your nature ideas at this point, right? And in a few years, shall our eyes still see this over a century green again? Or it will be another sun city? Well, let's enjoy it fully for now. Smiles. If you wondering the top of the hill, those are communication masts installed by the various communication companies such as MTN and Airtel, the most common here for mobile communication and internet usage, including mobile phone banking. Previously, the hills were only occupied by communication mast stands, but recently people have this idea to live the highest point and money speaks, so we see more and more hills dug down for especially rich housing. But carefulness has to be considered, because when Mother Nature decides to rain, we may experience landslides even in areas that were never expected to have landslides. Looking especially at the rate of the current earthquakes and wildfires, this can be attributed to climate change. As humans, we are taking less precautions than before to protect our environment. Now, do you recognize that busy hill over there and the purple flat building? That's where our walk started, across from our major town center, walking all the way to this opposite end of the village. What a journey! Have you had such a full-fledged African village walk? Hope you finish this journey. Thank you. Ahead is another school, and one would have to slope all the way. I am trying to locate which part of this area the school is exactly, but maybe another time we can slope there. The schools all seem close to each other. At least the kids don't have to walk for miles, though they're all primary schools. We've arrived back in the center, and in the far space is community radio too, like the one we saw in the bigger town. Let me give you another angle of it. The other center being far from this one with a valley in between, there required another community radio for announcements. Each may be specific with that particular village announcements. So we have arrived back at the upper junction we first took after the hilly summit, coming from the well, going all the way up that tea garden to tour around the developments in the village. But now at this juncture we conclude our journey at a new turn that is still bustling with biodiversity. But first, let's go through this tiny center, which if you notice is too small compared to the where we started. That would be regarded as the major. We can see more kiosks on the sides of the run, mostly run by women. The men usually gather around them too for food, as some act as restaurants. We climbed from down this valley, coming from other end of the hill. People are moving about their activities. The tea workers nearby may take short breaks to buy water. They're those constructing new kiosks, as we shall see upon return. Let's first take the opposite end of the hill for full overview. There is business competition that motorcycle sales insecticides like for bedbugs, cockroaches, etc. But first listen to the local language sales language, haha.
Ku mutwalo gumu tulina eddagala erita ebiku biyenje bikunnembi nkukunyi munyeera ku 2000 n'okudda waggulu.
Alright, that was interesting local narrative to listen to. Everyone announcing their local products. There is the herbal guy in the panel announcing diseases for treatment. In between someone selling tents and another selling pesticides and insecticides. It's a choice of the ears and money where to go to buy. And everything is sold from the cheapest price possible, that's $0.75. And some items maybe go to $50 with bulk sales and negotiations. Never forget to negotiate on the street sales of Africa. It's good experience for business too. So here, you have had full overview of where we came from and now officially start the main essence of this journey or walk. Its exploration aspect wouldn't be complete without starting from the town centers. It would only paint a half picture. So most evenings, I take walks up this hillside. As an environmentalist, I noticed how quickly the horizon is changing with upscale buildings, and the town centers are rising with more storied housing than before. Look from your right as the camera moves and see in awe how quickly the hills are engulfed. It's an interesting perspective until you see that virgin spot ahead. Look very closely on the hill horizons and how they have changed. You would not deny they were any different from the forestry area that will be a larger spotlight of this walk to fully understand nature consequences, sacrifices amidst development. As we slowly take a hike up this hill, historically this place was full of tea garden we are passing through. It sits on acres and acres land. On the opposite hills where you now see housing was all forests, hills and valleys with swamps and flowing water. There were very few natives living here. The people occupying the area were workers in the tea garden like those we see ahead who have just finished their work. Before we continue, in that spot is a good sunset on a good sunny day. If we can get enough subscribers, we shall see the sunset live at 1,000 subscribers. Please click subscribe. The tea workers easily shifted here from different parts of the country, even across the border, with hope of having housing constructed for them already and job assurance. These would be almost the only people who could leave their homes far away to occupy such a forestry, all in need of work. The whole area was mostly feared as largely a forest darker than one over that horizon. It was mostly considered a very typical rural village with natives at times considered backward, whatever backward means, as some people misunderstand our ancestry living as backward with their modernity. Well, that's not to say some ancestry practices were a bit rough like witchcrafts, but that's a deeper topic. Why not first enjoy this cow eating the tea garden weed? It may be weed for the garden, but a meal for this probably young Frisian cow. Now, notice the women carrying the firewood. The main source of energy is firewood that generates smoke while cooking, as we saw earlier. The women are the main wood feathers and go into the forests to get dry wood. They have to walk to faraway forests from home with more construction ongoing. Looking at this point, you can see how this area is a recent forest, but now they're new housing structures. It's stretching slowly to the clear green forest patch. These women would get wood nearby here but now have to walk further. So the development effects is in all corners to human and nature. Now with estate development, forests will be smashed down. Ahead is a new gazettes area of the hill that was cut down. Many people have gone there to get the timbers, and probably these women may be coming from there. Also sometimes when the tea garden is pruned, the small wood stems put on the sides, and we are allowed to take them for use as firewood. However, this does not mean people should break the tea stems for firewood, only the pruned ones or a burnt section for regrowing. It would be a crime if found plucking down tea stems. Picking the dry stems on the ground is rather okay. Another source of energy is charcoal, and almost everyone in the capital city and across the country uses charcoal for cooking. Charcoal is made from timber that's burnt underground the soil to firm the charcoal. That green hill over there should be having more trees, but probably most have gone into making charcoal. Most of the forests of the country, including Mabira Forest, has disappeared from charcoal making. The forest extinction has recently forced the government to put a ban on charcoal making across the country. It means we have to look for alternative sources which aren't yet readily available, especially for people in the village. At least in recent years, the capital people have adopted the use of gas, which is quite expensive in the village, and without petrol stations for refilling points. Others are adapting solar panels. There are thoughts of wind energy, but these at the moment may not meet the standard of cooking line in hotels and schools. They may be trials of biogas, but it's technology that is still at a minimum. With that, a bag of charcoal will cost as high as $30 to $50, which rises everything economically, even in restaurants where simple food would be cheaper. Here we can see some gardens and the hens and cocks moving free range to eat in this beautiful banana planting garden mixed with other crops like yams. This means we are getting closer to home residences. The white structures we just passed are the established homes of the tea garden workers. For residential privacy purposes and respect, we could only get glimpses of it. The homes are shared family units established right in the middle and surrounded by the tea garden. Only these families lived here. The homes in this section go all the way down and surrounded by gardens, mainly plantain. There were fewer natives, and over time, as new generation rose, the old generation that hardly sold their land died out. Most of the newer generation will sell the inherited land cheap and quickly to go experience the capital life. So why is there an influx of people? Nearby is a famous prayer hill. So there is an influx of pilgrimage people as the hill has grown more and more famous. Therefore, people have come to admire the ambience of the fresh weather and air they see across and grown their confidence to buy, and many as they grow old would rather live in this quiet environment, living away from the chaos of town. And that slowly by slowly the plots of land have quickly sold over the horizon, and a former very native village has changed one hill filled to another hill. Watching the horizon all the way we came from, one can only guess it's a matter of time. That the development we see here growing here, see how the soil is cut through deep with construction. It's extending slowly, and ladies and gentlemen, the remains beautiful forest small patch remaining that gives us an insight of how these horizons were once handsome, will soon be engulfed and gone. See, it's being eaten up from both ends and only the middle patch remains. It holds one of the most beautiful sunsets going over downhill the horizon, which will one day be blocked by storied housing. The cattle, the nightly birds, the frogs, the butterflies, snakes, everything. This calm home will disappear, our eyesight, incredible beauty of freshness and wonder will be cut short. So it's why this documentary will keep this alive for the future generations that will miss out on this incredible beauty. As they are curious like me, how was this area hundreds of years back? At least they will have glimpses of what a miss. Alas, what did we do to our nature? In exchange of a beautiful big golden African sunset for 3-storied buildings. But what can be done? For now, we do the work of documentation in hope of future better decisions and more environmental protection. Hence, that's why the theme is enjoy it before it's gone. Ladies and gentlemen, it's travel culture with you, and we hope to bring you more experiences. Thank you for being with us to this moment. For the future of it, it was at such a time that requesting people to subscribe. A channel documentary like this was important as it would support channel growth with paid adverts running to generate bits of income to enable our movement and bring more documentations. So we request anyone not yet subscribed yet to please click that button. Thank you. Smiles. See how the roads intersect to allow east movement in between the garden, especially for vehicles moving to pick the leaves at various points. And the kids have enjoyed learning to bike on this road. It's less traffic evening time, a perfect day to learning the big bike. They will use it to go to the well to fetch water, or pick stuff from the garden. As boys they start slowly to grow into young men and will be expected to know how to ride. Zooming one can see the valleys and landforms, even perhaps dried rivers, that form this remaining green patch under threat. The trees are less with more grasslands, and we can now see the importance of documenting from the various aspects. Let's listen into the evening nature sounds. That over, there are some of the forest African paths formed by humans and animals like cattle for movement, especially shortcuts. At first one, yes, would think it's a river or stream just as I did. But it's otherwise on closer inspection, seen how the path rolls out different parts of the forest too. Did you enjoy looking at nature far off in its fullness? Now imagine it will soon suddenly change like this, and slowly not even a tree sight. Where will you or I be? In case you are wondering about the stands on top hill, those are communication musts put by communication companies. With all the money they have, they also contributed to access road points in places where humans would not access. They constructed roads to put up such equipment. This is a nice rock. Seems part of this area is rocky, so the hills could be rocky without access, but once roads were created, the rich wanting their house at the highest point of the hill now know they can take advantage of the communications company road to bring construction materials, and boom! Next day there will be a new flat up top of the hill. See, all this beauty saddens me. One day it will be all gone with what is termed as development. Here we get to see more zoomed-in features of the forest. There are usually cattle grazing, but it perhaps already late that they were taken home. People also come here to fetch firewood. It's a big source of firewood for the village that remains open space. Well, apparently we can't confirm if this is even private land, public or government protected. With lots of land issues in the country today, it's very difficult to know who exactly owns what and if the forests are not yet owned at now individual level. Well, let's just enjoy the beauty in its splendor. Comment what detail if the forest hill interested you most. Did you find something eye-catching? Oh my goodness, it's unbelievable as we hike here every day and can't stop thinking how all this may change in a few years. All this valleys and green, the springing trees, everything on this will change to this surrounding built hills today. We get to appreciate more of it daily as we trek this green. Look at this far-off green beauty in its wonder. If it wasn't cloudy, how even much more one would be amazed by its full sunset. So it's not just me. As I was trekking, a young man ahead sits to admire this far-off beauty too. There are people like him who sit and get lost in nature looking at its beauty. Just like sitting by the lake and ocean staring at it endlessly. He, like many, enjoy a nice sunset day. Today being cloudy, the usually huge orange sunset just sprinkled a little of its color in the skies. As we greeted each other, no sunset today. Yeah, it's a little disappointing, but the dark blue skies kissing the green hill still gives a beautiful horizon to still look forward to. However, as strangers crisscrossing each other paths, we all know the real silent threat, because as we all look at the opposite end of the beautiful green hill, across it, a recent forest patch has just been burnt down. It's all in renews now in brown and not green. It has become a big table meal for woodpickers. Perhaps the women we met earlier had picked their wood from here too. There are hundreds over the hill still picking for their next meal tomorrow, and the same tomorrow, this green hill may one day become another brown patch burnt to the ground similarly. Sugarcane remains here as people like sitting in this spot and some of the rocks ahead. This here is best looking spot on this green hill with more details of the valleys that can be brighter by the sunset before they are kissed by the stars, as it engulfs in darkness to frogs singing, snakes hissing. But we all know it will be gone soon. We don't know when, but it's no science looking at hill behind now full of smoke and broken trees, then housing on both ends engulfing quickly. So we have learned to treasure and enjoy it before it disappears before it's gone. We enjoy it today and now. I have heard about this next village but never been there. Seeing it across, let's peek around its corner. It will be my first opportunity to go beyond this point. As we trek higher, and look what's ahead. It is interesting the upper side has no tea growing. Perhaps years back it was stopped or the tea garden boundaries end there. I'm not sure, but the lower end of the garden continues. Closely looking, it also has its boundaries in sight. Maybe we are finally able to see one end of this garden. Aha! There it is! Now both ends of the tea garden that's at lower and upper. But we still need to get closer and see also like the buildings rising across that should be a new developing center. All those buildings look new. Now we can clearly see how this development from this end is engulfing the green forest hill we just trekked coming all the way from the back where we came from, where it's also being eaten up by construction. The middle remains. For how long? What a pleasant surprise! As the trekking goes down the valley, It was interesting to see another forest hill, but from the looks of it must be experiencing fast tree cuttings, as the top is bare and this one is more accessible to humans that it will go quicker, even from firewood picking. Well, when the sun has fully kissed its horizon, the young man will trek home in nature happiness, but also with hope to see more of it again tomorrow. The same here. Let's trek here to enjoy as much as possible and in admiration heading back. But what a beautiful enticing forest path ahead to trek through. However, darkness is quickly coming and it's a long trek back home too. But that would be another interesting village on the horizon to walk through. I wonder what similarities we have, like a well. Speakers, having never reached there. It's my first time to see across this corner. Perhaps a return journey would be worthy, but for now, why not making a turning point as we pass this African ant-hill? Have you enjoyed the short series of our ant-hill hunts? Check them out! Let's have one final look at this new fast-developing center. Also enjoy the forested hill and its valleys here. It's advisable to use this path during day for safety purposes. I wonder if there are some snakes around here. By the way, the tea garden gets lots of care, so there are hardly ever snakes. Looks like what remains of this forest hill are bushes and thickets. The trees are gone, and perhaps now livestock will be grazing here as we have increasingly free-range cows in the area. Wild animals? None has been reported. The animals keep shifting far away as humans take over, unfortunately. Rotating around this nature and its connection to each other hill to hill, probably there was wildlife here enjoying these hills before, and what a jungle it should have been. But yes, we absolutely have monkeys around, like the Columbus white-tail and red-tail monkeys. They feel less threat to humans. Well, human DNA is over 98% related to chimps or monkeys. They probably see less differences too, hahaha. But the monkeys love fruit trees, like the mangoes and banana plantations are home. Alright, let's head back up. I hope we have a full overview of our nature hills and development. What are your insights about this whole journey? It's to give a whole perspective of what happens in any village today. As towns get crowded, people move to far places like here. One comes admiring to live in fresh breath air, green, and soon you realize construction everywhere. And wake up one morning, where is nature gone? There is a story. One European lived here in a beautiful house among natives, lots of green. Then over the years, the house became surrounded by buildings. Unfortunately had to shift, I guess, somewhere else as the sounds and green they were used to were gone. Here, take a closer look at this hill recent cut down and what will happen to the hill across. We shall hike higher a bit closer to see the renews, and also those who can get wood can, so that not all goes to waste at least. I wonder what they will be putting up here. We'll see in future. Subscribe! It's a long hike up the hill. I have run out of breath, but we can always have live nature walks here in the future when we hit 1,000 subscribers. The faster the better to enjoy the sunset and nature beauty now before it's gone. Hit that subscribe button, please. Thank you. Enjoy before it's gone. Now, heading back here, almost reaching our town center as we slope down here to have a short community walk, and kindly please bear with this camera position. We hiked from that village center down there. Coming up from the hill, the sloping was down here before connecting to the community road below. And off, we continue sloping, and here you can see some firewood by the roadside, which may be for sale and others is in people's home for use. The wood has to be tied in bundles so it doesn't spill all the way home. It's easier being carried on the head. The wood is prepared for cooking just like one would prepare a campfire. 3 stones and firewood lighted in between. Alright, we are coming from the other end of the town center. Let's see how some kiosks are constructed before we fully close off. It's been a pleasure to walk, hike, trek, and explore with you around our village to see the developments, but mostly, I hope you enjoyed our green nature. Sunset? Next time! It would mean the world to us if you clicked that subscribe button please to help our channel grow. Thank you, smiles! Let's buy first a cooked egg here at one kiosk. It's good to improve vitamins B and also support by buying locally. Here, let's get a quick glimpse of how African roadside kiosks are built. I requested to take bits of the process, and you can see how the poles are put. The metallic shop is electrically put together and will be painted at later stage. This shop was put in front of this veggie shop we saw earlier. From this angle, you can see the new development. This shows how things can quickly change even a small rural village center like this. But competition is good. Though I think the new kiosk will focus on mobile phone money transactions and communication. It was interesting to see this construction and hope in their future we can have a unique documentary on the different African kiosks and sales. Subscribe for notifications, please. It indeed takes teamwork finish one kiosk building. Here have a closer look at the permanent bigger shop structures. From this point, you can see the front end of the kiosk before the new kiosk construction. On that note, we'll leave you here to slope downhill following this mobile bicycle kiosk selling fish or vegetables. It sure looks a big basket of goods. It was really late evening, but different days of captions to give you a full overview of exploring through and walking back home in our rural village. Here, you can catch up a little bit of the evening side of the well of how it gets busy. Many interactions which also later extend in the center uphill. Alright. It was worthy to let this young human to capture how children are raised from childhood to help with work. I kindly requested to capture this moment as he climbed this village path given we were going the same way. The content looks heavy, but one knows how to measure their weight. It's engraved in African culture to train children to work great from childhood.